welcome back to my channel. I'm Kimberly and I like to create things in my sketchbook. Today I'm back with another sketchbook tutorial, and today I thought it'd be nice to create some giraffe. I recently painted a giraffe after buying some new acrylic paints, and I guess that kind of inspired me to carry on exploring them and creating them with different materials in my sketchbook. I love mixing materials. I would say I am a traditional mixed media artist, and that's exactly the approach I took when creating the sketchbook spread. I'll be using alcohol markers, colour pencils, gouache, and I'll be finishing things off with some line work using an ink brush pen. If you don't have the exact materials, honestly don't worry about it. Anything similar will work just fine. I think the most important thing is just to enjoy the process and enjoy experimenting in your sketchbook. And just a quick mention, if you are part of my Patreon, you would have had early access to this video, so hello. My Patreons always get early access, creative prompts and sketchbook challenges throughout the month. So if you're interested in joining, I'll leave a link below in the description with some more details and also what to expect from me throughout April. So yeah, let's get started on creating this sketchbook spread. So let's start sketching the giraffe. I will leave the reference on screen of the giraffe that I am sketching in case anybody wants to draw along. When I'm starting a sketch, I usually think about page placement. So where do I want the giraffe to sit on the page? I did recreate something similar digitally, which I will put on screen so you can have a little look. So I had a few ideas of where I wanted to put the giraffe. So yeah. I'm just starting by looking at the shapes of the giraffe really. I'm not really worrying about being perfect here, I'm literally just trying to get what I see on the page. I keep my lines quite loose at this stage. Majority of the time it will change and as I add colour later on before I add any final line work. I do stylise the eyes slightly, making them look a little bit different to what an actual giraffe's eye would look like. But again, that's personal choice and do just what feels right for you. I'm just going to block in some shapes now where the darker patches of the giraffe will go. I'm not trying to copy the reference exactly. I guess it depends if you really want it to look as close to the reference or not. But yeah, again, just do what feels right. Okay, let's move on to the second one now. Trying to look at the angles here rather than the actual outline of the giraffe. His neck kind of leans slightly. Again, I'm trying to capture that stylized eye. I think if something feels a little bit off when I'm drawing, I will just kind of sketch over it and change it. I try not to be too particular at this stage. think once I'm happy with my placement, if my lines are a little bit light, I'll go over them and make them a little bit darker. Pressing a bit harder now that I'm feeling a little bit more confident. I think sketching is meant to be messy at this point though, so yeah, don't worry too much about it if it's not exactly how you want the finished piece to look. Alright, let's move on to this third one. So with this one, I kind of want to capture the full body of the giraffe rather than just the heads like these two, so yeah, let's do that. Going back to the simple shapes that I can see in the reference is something that I do a lot when I'm in this sketching phase. When I am at this sketching phase as well, I am constantly checking back at my reference just to make sure that I'm capturing what I'm looking at. Okay, there we have it. I am really happy with how this sketching part turned out though. I think it looks really nice so far. So yeah, let's get on to adding some colour. Okay, so now that I'm happy with the sketch, I'm going to start adding a base layer of colour, and I'm going to be using my Ohuhu alcohol markers, which I actually only got last month, but I've really been playing around with them, and yeah, I really like using them. Yeah, I'm just having a look at the colours that I have in this pack. I think I got the 168 pack of markers. There is a lot of colours to choose from, yeah, out of this pack. So I think I'm going to go with these two. I've really been enjoying these Ohuhu markers lately. I've seen so many people use them and I've literally wanted them for years. So yeah, I decided to invest in them, and yeah, I'm really happy. I think they blend really well, and yeah, as a mixed media artist, I like to use a few different materials and find that these have been great to my practice. They are really great for getting a quick even base down as well, and I'll often like combine them with other materials later on. So I'm just going in with a little bit of a darker colour now to kind of get where the shadows are when I look back on the references. Again, I'm not worrying about being perfect here. I'm just trying to get some colour onto the page. I kind of think of it as like a first layer of colour, like a bit of an underpainting.
I tend to work pretty quick with the alcohol markers so that it kind of blends itself then. I will sometimes try and keep the strokes going in the same direction. Okay, now that I've got the base colours for that first draft, I'm going to move on to the second one. And again, using the same kind of process, starting with this lighter colour before going in with the darker shade. There's so many different stages when I'm creating something in my sketchbook, and I'll usually find that I don't particularly like what I'm drawing until much later on, so don't worry too much if you're looking at your drawing and thinking, oh, I really don't like this, because yeah, I think that's just part of the process. At this stage, I'm just using the references as a guide, rather than trying to copy exactly what I see. I think when you're going in with the markers, it can feel a little bit more permanent at this stage, so still try not to worry too much because it is just a base, and we're going to go over it later with some gouache, so you'll be able to fix any mistakes. I think as well it tends to look a bit patchy with these alcohol markers at first, until it's fully blended and fully settled onto the paper. Don't worry too much if it looks like that at this stage. Everything will come together as we add more layers. Now I'm moving on to gouache, and these are the colours that I've picked out already. I am keeping the palette fairly limited, but I think these tones will work really nicely with the base layer that we've already put down. I tend to reach for these gouaches that I've had for quite a while now, actually. I think they are really smooth to work with, and yeah, I really like how vibrant and nice the colours are, which I do think helps at this stage of adding colour to our sketchbook. You definitely don't need this exact brand. This was definitely an investment that I made, but yeah, any gouache will work. I think it is more about how you use them. So it is really just about playing around in your sketchbook until you feel comfortable with the materials that you have. Even after investing in that Ohuhu markers, I still always come back to gouache. It is one of my favourite mediums to use. It was definitely one of the mediums that really helped me understand layering as well, which has now become part of my process. I am putting a more thicker layer down, not thinking about it too much, just having a quick glance towards my reference and then just putting down what I'm seeing. I do really like how the gouache sits on top of the Ohuhu markers. I think I think the combination of these two works really well in my opinion. I guess with this layer it's great for refining those shapes a little bit more. Depending on your own personal art style, I guess it depends how much detail you want to add. I would say my style is a little bit more loose and messy, and I like that personally. This is what I love about mixed media as well, is how each layer adds something different to the final piece, and you can really slowly see it building up into what it will become at the end. So this layer just brings everything together and adds a little bit more detail before I go into the final stages. One thing I do love about gouache as well is that it dries so quickly, so now that I'm only adding these small details, this layer should dry pretty quick before moving on to adding some colour pencils. Now I'm moving on to the colour pencils, which is where I start adding more detail. This is the stage where I guess everything kind of starts to come together. My style is still quite loose and a little bit messy, so I still try not to overthink things here. I'm just, I'm going with what feels right when I'm putting the pencil to the page. Even though the pencils can be quite a light layer, I think this stage, it does really bring everything together. So I'm just picking out areas that I think need a little bit more definition around the eyes, and I think it helps separate the forms and makes things, look a little bit clearer on the page. I often use this purple, which is literally, as you can tell, I've used a lot. I'm halfway through the pencil already, but yeah, I tend to use this purple for shadows rather than just like dark greys or blacks, because often shadows aren't neutral, they do have some colour in them. I sometimes like to bring in unexpected colours as well. So yeah, I'm going to be using this pink. Okay, so this is where I'm just going to finish things off now. But yeah, I'm really happy with how the colour pencil went down there. So now we're just moving on to line work now. So I'm going to use my Tombow pen. It's my go-to. I use it all the time across lots of different pieces that I do. I do really like a brush pen because I think you can work between fine lines and thicker strokes, and yeah, I think the line weight is something that's really important to a piece and something I've picked up over the years. I'm still glancing at the reference here, but I'm mostly following my sketch now. Yeah, I kind of trust what I've already put down at this stage. the final thing, I'm just going to add some stars into these empty spaces. Again, personal choice. You can either leave it blank or you could just add a block background colour, but for me it's stars. And yeah, there we go. That's pretty much it for this sketchbook spread. I really like how the layers will come together in the end. And yeah, I absolutely adore these giraffes, and adding that little colour of pink I think worked really well in this sketchbook spread. I hope you've enjoyed this and found it fun and helpful. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.